I am the simp of the rich girl, Willow. She's fussy and picky with food, so I skip class to deliver her a meal. She admires the top student, so I write love letters for her. After the college entrance exams, the top student went to a prestigious university, while I went abroad to study with Willow. In a foreign land, I finally took my chance and won her heart. However, what I never expected was that the top student came abroad for further studies as well. The two of them, on the very same day, were caught up in a passionate embrace. When I saw this, I was overjoyed. I let out a long sigh of relief. Look at how messy this has gotten. The Liu family gave me so much money. I'd feel bad running away. Even after getting bored of it, I still can't get rid of it. The Liu family is the most powerful and influential family in the compound. As the only daughter of the Liu family, Willow is treated like the moon surrounded by stars. So, I've always been Willow's shadow since I was little. The reason is simple. She's beautiful yet foolish. If it weren't for the Liu family's opposition, she would have been snatched by a talent scout and dragged into the entertainment industry long ago. Looking at Willow's face, I could eat 2 more bowls of rice. Moreover, the closer I was to Willow, the higher my status at home became. As we grew older, everyone developed an awareness of gender. Boys and girls shouldn't be together all the time. But I was different. I still shamelessly stuck with Willow. Willow, under the expectations of everyone, grew into a graceful and delicate young lady. Her eyebrows were soft, her features exquisite, and she exuded a pure youthful charm. Meanwhile, I gradually became the simp in everyone's eyes. They mocked me, looked down on me, and belittled me, but they didn't know how much I gained. Willow didn't like me, and I played the loyal dog role with my honest and clumsy demeanor, which made the Liu family trust me. My family got resources, and I followed Willow into a class filled with children of the powerful and wealthy. The high school for the children of the powerful and wealthy is never dull. At home, my future was already planned out, with every path leading to the same destination. Even if one path didn't work, they could create a new one out of thin air. But I was different. My family could only guarantee that I wouldn't have to worry about food and clothing. In situations that required a strong family background, I wouldn't lose points, but that's about it. So, I chose to cling to Willow's leg. She's fussy and picky with food, so I skip class to deliver her a meal. She admires the top student, so I gather information for her. The poor top student, who transferred in with a full scholarship and financial aid, had countless boys pursuing Willow. There were school bullies, handsome boys, second-generation stars, and children of officials, but they all failed. I even once suspected whether Willow might hate men. But at the moment Makoto stepped onto the stage to introduce himself, her eyes sparkled with stars. I immediately understood her thoughts and took the initiative to become her romantic advisor. With this opportunity, I became Willow's incredibly close male best friend and defeated her female simps in one fell swoop. Oh, by the way, these female simps never call themselves simps. They always regard themselves as Willow sisters. It seems that because we have different genders, my flattery toward Willow is considered simping, while their behavior is viewed as girls help girls and just friendship. But that's nonsense. If I hadn't overheard them talking behind Willow's back, criticizing and slandering her, I might have believed it. So I bought breakfast for Makoto and played basketball with him during PE class. It was the first time Makoto had encountered someone treating him this well at this school. He looked at me with gratitude and trust in his eyes. It was at that moment that I handed him the love letter I had prepared earlier. Makoto was speechless. He stood frozen for a moment, looking at me in disbelief. I quickly added, "It's from Miss Liu. She asked me to give it to you." As expected, Makoto was focused on his studies, and women would only slow him down from solving problems. So without even looking at it, he tossed the love letter into the trash can. Willow went to see Makoto, but instead, she was sternly lectured by him. Makoto stopped talking to me altogether. I didn't care. I was busy comforting the heartbroken Willow. She had been pampered and spoiled, sailing smoothly through life, and this was the first time she had encountered such a setback. She drank wine, getting herself drunk after just one glass. After getting drunk, she leaned on my shoulder, her eyes filled with tears, asking me over and over, "Why? Why doesn't he like me?" I gently comforted her. "He just doesn't have good taste." I said, "Willow, I like you." I saw a flicker of clarity in her dazed eyes. After being rejected by Makoto, Willow began to raise fish, as her friends advised her to. According to them, the more fish there are in her pond, the more attractive she would appear and the more confident she would feel. Even if one fish was gone, she would have thousands more. But her gaze still never left Makoto. Soon, the college entrance exams came around. After the exams, Makoto was accepted into a prestigious university. Willow, however, didn't listen to her family's advice and insisted on studying abroad. When I went to deliver the homemade sweets my mom made to the Liu family, Aunt Lou asked where I was planning to go. I pretended to be indifferent and said, "It depends on my scores. Auntie, you know I've never been good at studying. In truth, I'm quite good at it. But I spent most of my high school time simping for Willow. For all her big and small matters, I would be the first to contact the Liu family secretary." Aunt Lou looked at me thoughtfully. That summer was an unbearably long wait for me. Others were waiting for their scores, their university acceptance letters, and the start of school. I, on the other hand, was waiting for the favor of Lady Luck. Finally, on a quiet summer night, Aunt Lou personally called and invited our family over. I still remember how cool the breeze felt that night, and how clear the sound of cicadas was. As expected, with her daughter going abroad, they couldn't bear to be at ease. My future was inevitably tied to Willow for a long time. The brighter Willow's future was, the brighter mine would be. A month later, Willow and I went abroad to one of the world's top universities. The way Willow's friends looked at me was full of jealousy. She gritted her teeth and said, "George, do you really like being a simp that much? Don't you have any self-respect? Oh, wait. If you did, you wouldn't be delivering love letters for your goddess to other men. You're just a shameless waste. You can be a simp for life like a clown. Look. How ugly is a woman's jealousy?" After going abroad, Willow's popularity only grew. Her features became even more refined and three-dimensional. Her youthful aura gradually gained a mature charm, and her delicate curves added a hint of sensuality that made one's heart race. I continued to dutifully serve her, following her every command. In the first year abroad, Willow let loose, traveling around, exploring mountains and rivers. In the morning, she was in Seattle, and by night, she might be in Los Angeles, enjoy her freedom to the fullest. During the new year, Uncle Lou's mistress, along with her 13-year-old illegitimate child, caused a scene in front of Aunt Lou. Aunt Lou told Willow not to come home. I spent the new year with Willow in New York. As we waited for midnight to arrive, she suddenly asked me, "George, is it possible for someone's heart to stay the same?" I didn't hesitate and answered, "Yes, it is." Willow smiled and said, "But I think I've stopped liking Makoto. I can't even remember what he looks like. Back then, I thought I'd never liked anyone as much as I liked him. Honestly, I think Willow was just attracted to someone completely different from her. What kind of love is that? But if you ask me what love is, I couldn't answer either. No one ever taught us." The fireworks outside lit up Willow's excessively beautiful face. Without thinking, I pulled Willow into my arms and kissed her soft lips. The pace of adults is quick. By the time Willow reacted, the arrow was already on the string. I whispered, asking her if it was okay. She blushed slightly, but nodded. The academic workload at the top university was too difficult. I still had to play bodyguard and servant for Willow. I needed to release some pent-up energy. "Willow, this is a reward I deserve." I lifted her up and energetically did my homework. I was eating so well. Willow's seductive gaze was fixated on me, as if she could hypnotize me with a single look. She was delicate, arrogant, and extravagant, full of flaws, but her appearance was truly a work of art. It was all mine to take. I released the pressure of these years. That repressed childhood, the distorted family relationships, all made me feel constant strain. I poured all into Willow. She responded to my passion, seeming to drop all her defenses. She bit her lip and asked, "George, do you really like me?" I absent-mindedly nodded and casually answered, "Yes, of course I do." She said slowly, "Then, George, you're not allowed to regret it." She stubbornly stared at me as if she was trying to pierce my soul. For a moment, I felt a strange illusion. Could she like me? After that night, Willow and I were together. There was no confession, no announcement, until one time, an Italian exchange student had been pursuing her for a long while. She finally impatiently said that she already had a boyfriend. The news spread like wildfire. Many people started asking who Willow's boyfriend was. A few days later, I received a call from Aunt Lou. Of course, she knew everything and she had long expected this day. So she didn't scold me, but instead asked about my studies and sent me a large sum of money, reminding me to take care of Willow. She said, "George, I really appreciate you taking care of Willow during this time." But then she casually mentioned that my parents recently got a dog, and she said, "Having a dog is great. They can guard the house and ward off evil. But one thing, never let the dog on the table to eat." Before I could reply, the call ended with a busy tone. Her view of me had always been that I was just a dog raised for Willow. Willow happened to walk over, rolling her eyes. "George, why are you dragging your feet?" I turned around and smiled. "I'm coming." For the remaining 2 years of college, Willow and I lived a shameless life. Mainly, I was a shameless one. Willow was very conservative about these things, always blushing every time. Maybe it was because the pressure of the past years had been too much for me. I had completely taken Willow, and sometimes when she saw me, her body would tremble. As graduation approached, we were preparing to return to our home country. I overheard Willow having an argument with Aunt Lou on the phone once. It seemed to be about a marriage arrangement. In the end, she responded with reluctant, "Okay." That night, she was especially clingy. I thought that might be our last night together. She was probably about to break up with me. I waited for several days, but things were still as usual. I tentatively brought up breaking up with her. She glared at me angrily, her cheeks puffed up like an annoyed pufferfish. She said, "I don't agree." She threw a tantrum, then threw herself into my arms and sobbed. "George, let's stay abroad, okay? Just the two of us." For a moment, I almost took her seriously, until Makoto appeared before her again. Makoto was still as impressive as ever, like a pine tree standing proudly on the cliff. He got into the school on his own merits, was sought after by professors, and won scholarships. I saw Willow gazing at him with admiration, instantly turning into a pure and innocent girl, like a love-struck fool. It was just like when Makoto first transferred here, standing at the podium introducing himself. But this time, things were different. This time, Makoto stepped down from his pedestal and walked over to her. He greeted her politely. "Willow, long time no see." They exchanged contact details. All the past unpleasantness seemed to have faded away. Once the storm had passed, they met again. They had both matured a lot. That day was also our 2-year anniversary. I had prepared a gift, cooked a whole table of dishes, and made a PPT and a short video showing the moments of the past years. Willow said she would be back soon. I waited for 3 hours. Then I received a call from Makoto saying, "George, Willow got drunk. Can you come pick her up?" I hesitated for a moment, but still went. That night, she slept through the whole night, drunk. Then, on my birthday, she was called away by Makoto with a phone call. The streets were not very safe in the early hours of the morning, but with just one word from Makoto, Willow left without even saying goodbye to me and went to find him alone. At the restaurant, I waited for Willow for a long time until I received a text from Makoto. He wrote, "George, you deliberately made me reject Willow back then, didn't you? No matter how much you try to stop it, those who are meant to be together will eventually end up together." I looked at those provocative messages and couldn't help but laugh out loud. He didn't know that I had wanted to break up for a long time. Willow didn't want to go back to the country, but I thought, she's a rich girl spending hundreds of thousands a month. If her parents cut her off financially, how would I afford it? Besides, the Liu family had already arranged a future for me. If things went as planned, I would rise to prominence. My future would far exceed my father's. I would be the most successful in our family. And now you tell me you're not going back? If I was still Willow's boyfriend, it would be hard to explain why I returned to the country alone and left her here. Makoto sent me his location. I didn't want to disturb Willow and Makoto, but then I suddenly remembered Aunt Lou's reminder. The Lou family's money wasn't given to me for nothing, and I had to keep an eye on things for Aunt Lou. No matter what, we can't go as far as creating a life. You know? I sent Willow a message, but she didn't reply. I grabbed the half box of cash left at home and took a cab over. At the building's entrance, I saw Makoto holding Willow's hand, looking at her with deep affection and saying, "I was really blind before. Why can I call you that?" Willow nervously and uneasily bit her lip, as if struggling internally, but she didn't pull her hand away. After all, the once distant moonlight was shining on her for the first time. How could she refuse? Finally, she nodded and said, "Okay." Makoto saw me. He gave me a smile, then without hesitation picked Willow up as they went upstairs. Willow's eyes stayed on Makoto the entire time, never once looking at me. They quickly went upstairs. I stood downstairs for a while, waiting for my turbulent emotions to calm down. A few minutes later, I knocked on Makoto's door. When the door opened, what greeted me was an extremely steamy scene. Willow was half leaning against the entryway cabinet, her long legs slightly bent with her pale ankles barely visible. Makoto was holding the stocking she had taken off, his expression ambiguous. At the sight of me, Willow seemed surprised. She asked George, "What are you doing here?" She seemed a bit upset that I interrupted them, but I still dutifully shoved the things into her hands. I said, "Don't forget this." Then I winked at her. Willow stood frozen, staring at the small box in her hands. I said, "You two enjoy yourselves. I won't disturb you. Goodbye." As I turned to leave, Willow grabbed my wrist. Her face turned red and she asked slowly, "George, what do you mean by this? What do you think I came here for?" Willow's tone was full of indignation. I saw Makoto turn around and sit on the sofa, looking at me with a smirk. When he spoke again, his tone was filled with annoyance. "George, you misunderstood. When Willow came today, she hurt her foot. I just wanted to help her bandage it." Willow threw the small box at my face, then turned to accuse me. "George, you really don't trust me, do you? I stayed here suffering abroad to be with you. But what about you? Is this how you treat me? I've had enough." She was talking about the last time when she missed our 2-year anniversary, and I hadn't fully let go of my feelings and said some harsh words. She said coldly, "Why do you always think everyone has ill intentions toward me? Do you think Makoto is like you? It's because you're uneducated. You're nowhere near as good as Makoto." With that, she turned around, sat across from Makoto, and placed her ankle in his hands again. The door was wide open, and this beautiful, eye-catching scene unfolded right in front of me. I sighed and kindly closed the door for them. That night, I didn't sleep well. I had a dream the moment I first met Willow as a child. My family is a blended one. Back then, my father had just lost his wife, and my mother wasted no time bringing me to him. But he never really regarded me as his child. I have a half-brother from a different father above me, and a half-sister from a different father below me. At home, my father commanded the wind and rain. Towering and mighty, yet inside the compound, he bowed and scraped to everyone else. All the family's resources went to my half-brother. All its affection went to my half-sister. I had nothing. For as long as I could remember, I'd been invisible. No matter how hard I worked for a perfect score, it still paled beside my half-brother, sinking one golf shot in class. Clutching that perfect paper, hiding in my secret base, I ran into Willow. "This is Queen Bee's turf. Get the hell out of here." Yet before the words were finished, she saw my face, all snot and tears. She rolled her eyes in disgust. But she didn't chase me away. When my mother came looking for me, she found me playing house with Willow. The very next second, I watched her put on a new face. Back home, she bragged to my father about my friendship with Willow, and he questioned me in detail. Then, incredibly, they praised me. That day, I understood my worth. To live well in that house, I had to prove my value. I was 10 and a terrible actor. Yet Willow still accepted me as her playmate. When my half-brother tried to muscle in, Willow told him to scram. I rejoiced in secret and clung to Willow all the more. Year after year, it went on. How could I not fall for her? She was beautiful, rich, and, most importantly, useful. She was like a pedigreed cat, just sitting beside you. She earned you medals. She ignored everyone else and barely cared about you, but she needed your care and hated anyone else's. So now and then, she'd favor you with a glance and let you stroke her twice. I couldn't get enough. Yet none of that could outweigh my future. The next morning, Willow still hadn't returned. Aunt Lou called, and I picked up at once. As always, she first asked about Willow. Then her tone shifted. You've done excellent work. But Willow must grow up, born into a powerful family. She can't act on a whim forever. Silk clothes and fine food don't appear out of thin air. When the family needs her to sacrifice, she must accept an arranged marriage. I hope she understands at least that much. Uncle Lou's mistress and the illegitimate child seemed to leave her utterly unfazed. Nothing like the heiress who had nearly broken with her own family just to marry him years ago. I took the hint and replied immediately, Auntie, don't worry. I'll break up with Willow right away. It won't interfere with her marriage alliance. Aunt Lou was pleased, though she still feigned concern. She laughed. It's for your own good, too, being well-matched in status matters. I know you like Willow. She kept talking. The villa's main gate slowly swung open before me, then closed again as though someone had been standing there for a long, long time. Willow came back 3 days later. I saw on Makoto's WeChat post that they had gone out together. When Willow was with me, I used to take her to all sorts of upscale places. But when she was with Makoto, they went to cheap spots and even did volunteer work. I noticed a new necklace around Willow's neck. Cheap stuff. It was obvious who gave it to her. Willow started disappearing for days without telling me where she was going. In the past, I would shamelessly cling to her. But now I was tired. 3 days later, it was a night of pouring rain. Makoto brought Willow home. I had just walked in when I heard Makoto lecturing Willow. He was talking about complicated formulas while Willow rested her chin on one hand, staring at him intently. I didn't think she understood a thing. She never cared much for studying since she was little. I had tried to talk her into it. But if even Aunt Lou failed, of course I had no chance either. But now Makoto had succeeded. Willow even started asking questions, like a well-behaved student. The rain was getting heavier. When Makoto was about to leave, Willow stopped him. Willow said, There are plenty of empty rooms in the villa. You can stay over. Makoto looked a little hesitant. Is that okay? Should we ask George first? Willow rolled her eyes and raised her voice. What's not okay? We're the ones renting the villa. Why should he have any say in it? I didn't interrupt them, and went to cook on my own. Willow didn't like takeout and was extremely picky, so over the years, I always cooked for her. As I was chopping ribs, I heard Makoto politely come over and inform me, George, I'll stay here tonight then. After saying that, he smiled and turned to Willow. Me staying here won't disturb you and your boyfriend, will it? The next second, Willow replied without hesitation, Not at all. We've already broken up. Makoto pretended to be shocked. I was just joking. So you really were together? Willow seemed worried about leaving a bad impression on Makoto. She quickly explained, We were only together for a short while. Then we realized it wasn't right, so we broke up. It was George who ended it. When Willow said that, her tone was cold, as if she was still holding a grudge against me. The sizzling sound in the pan briefly drowned out their conversation. I focused intently on cooking as if I hadn't heard a thing. After all, I was flying back home tomorrow. That night, I moved into the guest room downstairs. My door was pushed open. Willow stood there with her arms crossed, staring at me coldly. This room, give it to Makoto, she said. I was momentarily stunned. Then where should I sleep? It definitely wouldn't be appropriate to share a bed with Willow again. After a moment of thought, I moved into the servant's room on the first floor. Before going to bed, Aunt Lou messaged me. She had just spoken with Willow on the phone and noticed she sounded a bit nasal. Aunt Lou told Willow to take medicine, but she knew Willow probably wouldn't. So she asked me to bring her the meds and make sure she took them. I got out of bed, took the medicine, and headed up to the second floor. That bedroom, I had lived in it for 2 years. But now I heard Makoto's voice inside. I knocked and waited a long while before hearing a faint come in. Willow glanced at the medicine in my hand and scoffed. She said, "George, you really are a good dog. Do you just do whatever my mom says? Were you with me because she told you to be?" I didn't say anything. What could I say? That I had been plotting for her all along? That I was after her body? Seeing I wasn't answering, Willow frowned and said, "Fine. Since you're such a spineless loser, I've got nothing more to say." She looked at me with mocking eyes. "Useless. Compared to Makoto, you're really nothing." My heart tightened for a second, but just for a second. Take money, do the job. I had always understood that principle. So I went along with her words and said, "After all these years, I guess you've gotten what you wanted. I wish you two a happy future together." Willow stared at me in silence. Makoto, watching the drama unfold, casually made up an excuse and left. Only Willow and I were left in the bedroom. The air grew thick with awkwardness. My flight was tomorrow morning. That job needed me to start right away. I had already told Aunt Lou, and she had no objections to me leaving a few days early. I had always wanted to say goodbye to Willow, but it seemed I never found the right time. Tonight seemed like it. I cautiously said to Willow, "Actually, you could have Makoto take care of you." To my surprise, Willow refused. She shook her head. "No, Makoto's busy with his studies. He's a professor's star student. He doesn't have time to look after me. Your job is to take care of me." I suddenly fell silent. In that moment, I understood my place in Willow's eyes. Of course, Makoto was a hard-working genius who had made it on his own, and I was a simp clinging to the Lou family like a parasite, surviving off of their charity. Makoto had a bright future, a career, a destiny. And me, this pathetic simp in her eyes, was just a servant meant to orbit around her. Before dawn, I dragged my suitcase out of the villa, watching the foreign land beneath my feet shrink into a small patch. I knew I had stepped onto the next journey of my life. Chapter 12. I had thought Makoto and Willow would begin a happy life together from then on. But just a month later, Makoto stood in front of me. He seemed to have been waiting for me outside my office building for quite a while. There were several cigarette butts in the trash can beside him. The moment he saw me, he put out his cigarette. Casually he explained, "I got a great offer, so I came back early. Big tech company. Strategy department. $1 million a year." I nodded. "Congrats." I thought of back in high school when I saw him scratching his head over the last problem on a test and passed him a cheat sheet. He destroyed it completely, then scolded me after the exam for not following the rules. I had pretended to agree, but deep down, I didn't care. I was just trying to get closer to him. I wanted him to trust me, to be friends with me. I had always subtly hinted to him that I liked Willow. I let him see me get laughed at by everyone, mocked as a simp, judged and belittled. I saw him get angry and step in to defend me. Everything went smoothly, except that after he threw away the love letter, he still didn't want to be friends with me. Now, we stood in the cold wind watching people pass by. He smiled and said, "George, do you think you're so clever?" I didn't answer him, and he didn't seem to need an answer. He said, "You made Willow completely dependent on you. She realized it the day after you left. She tried calling you, but you'd already blocked her. She went to her mom only to get scolded harshly, called shameless, and then her mom even introduced her to a marriage prospect." Then he shifted the tone. "Actually, I didn't like Willow at first. Immature and spoiled, arrogant and ignorant. Just a pretty face, really." He paused, then continued. "But later on, I started to pity her." He pulled out a cigarette, about to light it, then suddenly changed his mind and put it back. He said, "You didn't have me reject Willow because you liked her. It's because you didn't want me playing house with the princess. You were afraid it would derail my future." I looked up at him but said nothing, neither confirming nor denying it. Someone like him didn't have much time to waste. A rich girl like Willow could live in her fantasy world, dreaming about pure love. But one day that fantasy would break. When that day came, Willow could just study abroad. But what about Makoto? For him, what mattered most was a bright future. Still, I never thought I had the right to make decisions for others. Before I left, I said, "You're quite the actor. I only did it because I didn't want you to steal Willow from me. She's still useful to me." I figured this might be the last time I'd see Makoto, that fake friendship from our youth. It was long overdue for an ending. From now on, we'd each walk our own path toward the light. Not long after, I worked overtime for several days to prepare for an inspection. Day and night blurred together. Finally, when work ended and I was ready to head home, I saw Willow. She stood beneath a street lamp, glaring at me. Her face held anger, but her eyes brimmed with grievance, like an abandoned cat. Willow had secretly fled back to the country. Uncle Lou and Aunt Lou didn't know yet, but they would find out soon enough. The moment I saw her, I messaged Aunt Lou. Willow bit her lip and said, "George, did you have fun messing with me? Am I that easy to fool?" The proud cat now felt wronged. I couldn't find a way to smooth her fur, so I just stayed silent. She walked up to me, raised her hand, and tried to slap me across the face, but I dodged sideways. She bit her lip and asked, "George, is it that you think we can't go on, or that your crappy job is more important than me?" "Both." But I couldn't say that. I was afraid if I did, she'd explode right then and there. Although, honestly, she already had. She asked, "Or is it that you never actually liked me?" Her voice trembled when she asked that. I thought, yes, I had liked her. But there were too many things I prioritized over her. Besides, a woman like her, I was never good enough for her. There were so many people chasing after her. Even her fish pond was getting overcrowded. I didn't have top-tier talent or a top-tier family or a top-tier brain. I didn't think I had anything that made me special. After some thought, I chose a more diplomatic answer. I said, "I don't want to be in a relationship that no one blesses." Willow froze. With her level of emotional intelligence, it probably took her a few loops to make sense of that. Just then, the woman I had gone on a few blind dates with recently walked over. Willow asked, "Who is she?" I didn't answer. I just reached out and held her hand. Willow's face twisted with indignation. "You're cheating on me." Seeing that my date was about to lose her temper, I quickly said under my breath, "She's the Lou family's daughter. I told you about her." My date immediately cooled down. I started to leave with her. Seeing this, Willow Lou got even angrier. She shouted, "George, does she know you're my simp?" I ignored her and turned to leave. Just as she was about to charge at me, the Lou family's bodyguards finally arrived. They held Willow back, and I got into the car with my date. No bodyguards, just a driver. She glanced at me, then left. My ex-wife, rolled her eyes and said, "She's crazed, isn't she? Still not married after all these years. Waiting for you? She hears you're divorced, comes to find you, and then leaves without saying a word." I smiled and shook my head. It wasn't like that. I think she probably regretted not choosing that path back then. So she came to see for herself whether that path really would have been as beautiful as she once imagined. She could easily walk that road now, but the question is, does she still wanna? I glanced at the car driving away. I think she already knows the answer. Love is like revisiting an old place, trying to relive the past by sticking to the same rules. But when you return, you're no longer in the same state of mind. Over the years, Willow has probably realized why I stayed by her side in the first place. What's missed is missed. But that doesn't mean it's a regret.